Yo, Shortbox Nation, this is Botter, and I'm here to tell you right now that con season starts early this year with the return of Northeast Florida's premier anime, comic book, and sci-fi event, Collective Con. That's right, Northeast Florida's largest pop culture convention returns for its 10th year on March 8th through the 10th at the Prime Osborne Center in Jacksonville, Florida. 10 years of Collective Con, they're pulling all the stops out to make sure this is a can't-miss event. And the guest list they got going, don't even get me started on the guest list. I mean, they've got A-list celebrity guests and voice actors from some of your favorite movies, anime, and video games like Elijah Wood and Sean Ashton, Ray Park, Trisha Helfer, Ross Marquand, Max Middleman, and Bo-Katan herself will be there, Katie Sackhoff. Tell me what other convention is giving you the opportunity to meet Frodo and Sam from Lord of the Rings, Darth Maul, and One Punch Man all under the same roof. Only at Collective Con. And if you're looking to get some of your favorite comics signed, or if you want to get an original sketch from some of the best comic artists in the world, well, you're in luck, because there'll be plenty of comic and creator guests there, like DC comic artist extraordinaire Clay Mann, Harvey Award-nominated illustrator John Taylor Christopher, Marvel and DC cover artist Chris Stevens, and acclaimed Star Wars author Timothy Zahn. They'll all be at Collective Con this year. And if you're looking to bring the family, or if you want to make a weekend out of it, you're in luck, because there'll be so much going on at Collective Con that weekend in the form of vendors, fan panels, video game tournaments, cosplay contests, after parties, and a bunch of fan events. You can purchase single and 3-day weekend passes now using the link in this episode's show notes, or by going to collectivecon.com to book your tickets and hotel. Buy your tickets now, and I'll see you at Collective Con, March 8th through the 10th. Now let's start the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Shortbox Podcast.
The Shortbox Podcast is recorded live from Jacksonville, Florida.
I don't know if you guys have anything to drink, but I welcome you to join in a little cheers, cheers to you guys. And cheers to fucking watching Batman next Monday.
Oh, yeah.
Shortbox Nation.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Actually, what is that?
Salute.
CBD.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
Just
Nice.
straight CBD liquid.
Wow.
Only for our patrons. only our patrons get to enjoy.
Only our patrons get to see this level of
Stuff.
HR nightmare.
Stuff. Bong water.
Oh, speaking of which, whose turn is it to be HR this week? I think Ed you had last week.
Ashley, apparently.
Ed
It's
failed
Ashley's
at
turn.
it. So Ashley's your turn.
She'll be like, okay, me, I have to do a pee test. I don't really have to do one. Bye.
See, he's on his best behaviors today.
He's in jail.
I'm trying, man.
Man,
Ed said he's in jail because he's got nothing on his
throw a
walls.
poster up there, man. Do something. Hang in their poster with getting something.
Batman doesn't have posters. I'm putting a dinosaur, a giant penny.
Yeah. All the Robins that died, their outfits.
Oh, man. that's
Oh,
good.
yeah. We honor their memory.
Look at the child abuse I've championed throughout the
He
years.
was a good soldier, but the war goes on.
That's good. Okay. All right. We can really get started.
Oh, I see somebody fucking around inside the file. Ooh, is this Potter?
All right. Shut up. All right. Here we go.
Ooh,
Here we go.
little purple cursor. Cute.
Yo, Shortbox Nation. Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 351. We are officially in season 8 territory. If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome to the show. My name is Botter Milligan, and I'm just one of the voices you'll be hearing from today. I got the full Shortbox crew joining today's panel. With me in the studio, sitting to my left, is the special Edmund Danzart.
Yo.
Applause. Sorry, I was late on the applause.
Hey.
My bad. You know they love you, Ed. What up? And calling in from the Bat Cave is former Playboy owner of Cordero Tech, Cesar Cordero.
Yeah, I had to give up the game. Had to give it up.
Oh, man.
I gotta donate all my shit to Helena.
All right, and also calling in, but from the stronghold of her castle is true podcast royalty. We've got the Shortbox Duchess, but she's got a pretty cool hat on, so I'm going to call her the Wicked Witch of podcasting. Miss Ashley Lanny Hoy is joining us today. What up, Ashley?
From Duchess to Witch.
I know.
Ashley, you better get ready. We're about to slam the hell out of some Italian Americans this episode.
And some Irish folks.
I
So
warned-
sorry.
I warned my grandfather I said, don't
It's
listen to
gonna be
this
bad.
one.
All right, listeners, since this episode is being recorded on video, we'll have an exclusive video version of this podcast with all of our ugly mugs on full display outside of Ashley. Ashley carries the team as far as the looks department, but we'll have a video version of this podcast on our YouTube channel before the audio version drops for our Patreon subscribers who enjoy first. And speaking of our loyal Patreon subscribers, I want to give them a special round of applause, seeing as how they're responsible for helping us choose today's topic. That's all you guys get today.
Oh my God.
Look, that's all they get, considering that they had an option between a 3-issue limited series, a 1-issue limited series, and of course
patrons.
they chose the
What
longest.
is happening?
Yeah, they chose the longest Batman story known to man. So they get a short burst of applause today. But we'll be spotlighting the Eisner Award-winning limited series, Batman The Long Halloween. It's a 12-part story that was originally released in 1996. It's written and drawn by the popular comic duo Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. Furthermore, it's set in the early days of Batman's never-ending war against crime and corruption and revolves around a holiday-themed murder mystery. Long Halloween is among the handful of classic Batman stories that Matt Reeves, who's a director and co-writer of the upcoming Batman film, has played a major influence on him and the movie that stars Robert Pattinson as the title character.
I'm vengeance.
Matt Reeves.
Oh my God. He scared the shit out of me.
Even more worth it then. But Matt Reeves has also said that other Batman stories like Batman Year One, Batman Ego, and of course Hollywood classics like The French Connection, Chinatown, and Taxi Driver were also big inspirations for him while filming The Batman. By the time you're hearing this, The Batman premieres in just a few days, so it's only right that we celebrate the upcoming release with a dedicated Batman episode. And just in case you haven't read Long Halloween, or it's been a minute, you're like us, you haven't read this in a long time, I'd like to see to help me build a foundation for what we're talking about today. See, you mind telling the listeners what they need to know about Batman The Long Halloween, like the major points?
I mean, look, if you haven't seen The Godfather, go screw yourself, first off. Second off, if you haven't seen The Godfather, stop this, go watch it, then come back, because I think number one thing we should have on the list is that Jeff Loeb, as a writer, got his start doing scripts for Hollywood, right?
Writer of Teen Wolf.
So, yeah, and if you don't feel the sort of influence of movies throughout this thing, I don't know what to tell you. This is essentially one love letter to. It's a love letter to The Godfather, but among other things, chronologically, the story does take place a little bit after Batman Year One. Batman, the house that Frank Miller built. You're welcome, DC. And it tells a story of a mysterious killer named Holiday. So this guy has been basically terrorizing Gotham by murdering people on major holidays, one each month. And some of the key players more or less include, of course, District Attorney Harvey Dent, Jim Gordon, who is the captain at this point in time. He's not the commissioner. You have the respective crime families of the Maronis and the Falcones, and pretty much all of Batman's rogue galleries. So like you have, your classics like Joker, Scarecrow, Mad Hatter, Poison Ivy, Riddler. They all make an appearance. And
don't forget Calendar Man.
We'll get to Calendar Man. That's
my
another,
bad.
well,
My bad.
That's well. That was to say that's another reference to film.
Oh, yeah.
Like Silence of the Lambs for sure. Again, if you haven't
1000%.
seen Silence of the Lambs or The Godfather, promptly go see those movies, and then hey, we'll be here waiting for you. But they all kind of tie in a bunch of events that sort of transform our dearly beloved Harvey Dent into Two-Face. And this, I was joking around with Botter earlier that this movie has influenced like pretty much every major Hollywood director when they make a Batman movie. They may say like, oh, I was reading The Killing Joke and I thought I would try to incorporate that into my film.
That's Nick Cage when he gets his Batman deal.
Whoa.
God, if he gets one, I'm ready. Sign me up. Where he's going to be directing it. He's going to be starring in it. He's going to write it. Yeah. So Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, I think the first thing that comes to mind. They used a lot from The Long Halloween.
Well, the funny thing is that Jeff Loeb was Matt Reeves' professor at USC, his
screenwriting
class. So That's a cool little connection. But it does seem like you said, seems like anytime a Batman movies make, they have the go-to checklist of things they have to say that inspires them. It's like, oh yeah, I really like Frank Miller's Batman and Dark Knight Returns and
Right.
Batman Year One.
Yeah, it's like Rosario Dawson in the early 2000s trying to convince us that she was into comic books.
She's fine. She can say whatever she likes.
Yeah, I believe it.
Don't care. Lie to my face, please.
Exactly.
well, like I said at the top, so our listeners, ended up picking the topic for this episode. We talked about doing a Batman episode before the movie dropped, so we gave them 3 choices. It was either Batman Year One, Ego, or Long Halloween. All of them being comics that Matt Reeves has credited as being influential to the movie. I think he highlighted them in DC Fandom last year when he came out to
Damn it, guys. You couldn't have picked Ego? Damn it.
Yeah.
It would have taken us an hour versus a two. That's why we were off last week. We needed time to read these 12 issues. But Long Halloween ended up winning 50% of the votes, beating out the other 2, which tells me that a good portion of our patrons are either very familiar or more than likely favor this story arc. So I was curious, Ed and Ashley, what was your familiarity with it? Ed, if you want to take that one first.
Yeah, like I said, I was talking to C earlier. I don't think when it came out, I was definitely not into Batman at the time. But when I started working at the shop, you get those, Ashley, you see those, DC sends out those essential lists of, graphic novels to get. So I was, I was like, I guess I'll order a few of these just for the collection. And then I think I got it years later and I perused it, but this last week was the first time I really sat down and read it, in a while. But yeah, I came to it way after it came out.
I haven't read much Batman. And I mean, who doesn't know who Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale are? But I just never read this. But so the funny thing is I didn't finish it. I mean, it was almost 400 pages. But I got maybe 150 pages in just in one sitting. So it was really, really good. And every time you think the story's slowing down, they introduce other stuff. Because, in the first couple, you're like, how are they going to keep this going for 13 issues? But I liked it. I think it's a pretty quick read so far. I lost track of time reading it, which is a good thing.
Yo, this is Botter. Sorry for interrupting this episode, but I'll keep it brief. I wanted to let you know about a massive sale we have going on over at the Shortbox store on all of our merchandise and apparel. That's theshortboxstore.bigcartel.com. You can now save 20% off your entire order using the discount code YOO, Y-O-O. So if you've been waiting for the right time to finally buy that gauntlet snapback, or if you ever wanted to buy any of the shirts you see me wear on the podcast, well, now's your chance to get them for a steal. We still have a few sizes left of everything, but they won't last long, and once they're gone, they are gone. And then I mentioned that all of our apparel is screen printed on high quality material. None of that heat transfer or direct to garment stuff. Our shirts are some of the most comfortable ones you'll ever wear, and the hats look even better in person. So wear your support for the Shortbox Nation proudly, knowing that you're going to look damn good doing it. Get to theshortboxstore.bigcartel.com as soon as you can, and don't forget to use that discount code YOO, Y-O-O, to save 20% off your entire order. All of this information can be found in this episode's show notes if you want to get there faster. Thanks for not pressing fast forward. Now back to the show. Yeah, I found myself having to find stopping points because I usually read my comics right before bed. So this one was for me a nice revisit. I was telling C when I think of Batman Long Halloween, well, really I got to give credit to C and Drew because early years of hanging out with them, they're the ones that pointed me to all the classic Batmans and kind of got me. I mentioned how Batman Hush. I think about those times fondly, but Long Halloween was another book that you guys introduced me to, and
Dude,
from there I became.
Every time you talk about me and Andy, Drew, to the listeners, turning you on to comics, I imagine you're sitting in this room with a bunch of other people, gangsters, and it's all right, so how are we going to deal with the Batman? And then either me or Drew come in, and we're like, ha 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 ha, oh he. You really should read these comics, Botter. You really should.
Well,
it's Like what? Like I don't. You make it sound like we held a gun to your head.
I didn't say anything about violence, but I mean, there was that one time you guys did stab me in the eye with that pencil.
Oh no!
No, it's just that, like, you know, you guys introduced me to some, like, especially like on the DC side, right? Like, you know, DC Drew, we call him that for a reason. But
I remember,
you know, you guys had really pushed like a lot of these classic Batman stories that I hadn't been on. You know, it was like, you know, when you're hanging out with your older brother and they're like, wait, you haven't heard this album or you haven't seen this movie? Go watch that shit. What are you doing? So Long Halloween for me, you know, this is like
no, I'm not allowed to read DC. Daddy doesn't like it.
He did tell me he wanted me to stop hanging out with you guys. He's like, it's a bad influence.
Stop hanging out with them DC droolers.
I don't want to hear Archie Goodwin's name in this house. I don't want to hear Julie Stewart.
Archie Goodwin.
See,
what a weird pull.
Seeing it as you know, I've called you our resident Batman correspondent on the show. Tell me about the first time you came across Batman Long Halloween or just Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale.
Look, I would love to tell you that in 1996 I had popped in my Alice in Chains CD and I was like, into the flood again. and that I read it while I was, you know, jamming out. Not the case. I, like Ed, kind of came to it a little later. I actually was in college, early 2000s, and they had kind of started releasing the trades in special sort of like ultra nice editions, and I was like, you know what, I'm pretty sure I'm going to enjoy this. Like, this is one of these comics I know I'm going to like, because I think at this point I become familiar with Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale doing other collaborative work together. So I was like, I'm ready to read The Long Halloween. I know I'm going to like it. And at that time I had just probably seen The Godfather, so that was another movie I sort of came to a little later, and I was like, "Whoa, this is insane! Like, this is like a weird sort of." Because, you know, I like Batman a whole lot, and he's my favorite, and I've been reading a lot of Batman since I can remember, and it was like, oh, somebody finally did a comic where they transitioned from like old school organized crime and sort of the death of it to, hey, we got a bunch of weirdos in costumes that are all reflections of Batman's fractured psyche. Like they made the book that was the transition. I was like, damn, that's kind of cool. So, you know, I was blown away, and the art style jacked me up even more. So,
and you know, that's a good. I want to go to Ashley for this one. Ashley, seeing as you and Tim Sale both dabble in work in watercolor, I was curious, like, what was your impression of Tim Sale and his style?
I really like his style. Not to say that it's not pretty. Like, I feel like this whole book was just kind of, I don't know, they were just so like stylized, I guess.
The word I hear a lot is grotesque for his like,
yeah,
like caricature.
Well, even like
what you hear a lot,
like Catwoman, like I wouldn't look at her and be like, oh, that's a hot chick. But then you know it's a hot chick from the way he's drawing it. But she also looks like she could literally rip your head off with her bare hands. She's just frightening looking. I guess it's the way I'd put it. Like, everything is just jarring.
You know, judging from how early this book came out, I was thinking about maybe like, are there artists that this reminds me of that might have been influenced by his style? And like Simon Beasley kind of came to mind, and like Marcos Martin. Like, I got a lot of like, just like those very flat colors, like heavy inking, like kind of gothic looking proportions and things like that.
Yeah, you can see too. And this is like after Frank Miller's Sin City's been around for a little bit. So you see a lot of that influence, like the Venetian blinds everyone has and all the harsh shadows. And you do see, I see some like, you know, of course, some, you know, Mignola with a lot of the heavy blacks and Miller. And then I get a little like JR too with some of his line work and some of the way the faces are structured. That reminds me of like a looser style of John Romita Jr.'s. So, but yeah, his art is very divisive because I've like to read some reviews just to get some different points of views. And a lot of times the art really, you know, throws people off just because it's so stylized and so bizarre, and that's why I like it, because it is so strange.
It stands out just like, you know, visually
and it's
from
like,
a lot of other Batman.
If you don't like this, don't look at Kelly Jones's Batman, because you really won't like that.
Yeah,
it's true.
Reading issue to issue, I was reading on the DC app, so I'm reading the issue to issue. They don't have any collected format, and I don't know if you noticed, but like I got like some Saga vibes, like because of how every issue starts off like one splash page that, very minimal amount of text, maybe like one word balloon or bubble. And I think it usually ends with also a splash page. So I kind of enjoyed that consistency. And I wonder if that's something that, maybe like Brian K. Vaughan might have read or been inspired. Did you notice that at all?
No, but now that you're mentioning it, I like that a lot, because that's always my excitement with sagas. I know when I open that cover, that first page is going to be something incredible.
Yep.
And I noticed that now looking back, going through the issues.
Yeah, and those guys are TV guys too. Those guys are television and movie writers, screenwriters. So their approach is going to be, get the hook in and then for the episode and then go through it.
Well, to your point, Ed, I was going to say earlier when you mentioned Venetian blinds, like all those tactics are essentially trying to mimic what film noir is doing, and that's something that Ditko did. I'm sure anybody that's an artist that if you wanted to speak the language of film, or at least a visual language, and you want to basically get across to the reader, like, hey, this is a dark story, then use the tactics, created by somebody like Orson Welles or Alfred Hitchcock, just within comic book form. I mean, Will Eisner might be the best guy who did it. Bernard Krigstein and Al Feldstein, but all those guys might be the best at doing that stuff.
I read somewhere where Jeff Loeb was talking about his process with Tim Sale. And he was saying that like he writes all of his comic scripts like movie scripts, because that's, what he knows. And that he saw Tim Sale in this regard, in his role as, the artist, as the director and cinematographer. And I know like that's something, we talked about with like Bill Morrison, like the role of a comic artist kind of being both director, cinematographer, as well as artist, et cetera, et cetera. Jeff Loeb had even added and said, he had to be very clear in terms of what he wanted, but Tim Sale, has his own gift as a storyteller, and he respected that a lot, like allowing him to kind of direct the movie that he wrote in script form.
That makes even more sense regarding, if he said he was specifically the cinematographer, like that guy's job is to paint with light. So that's their main bread and butter. Actually, there's a really good documentary, I think it's called Visions of Light, where they talk about famous cinematographers in Hollywood, it drives that point even more to stuff that Ed was saying earlier.
Good stuff. And back to you. So you're saying that you were reading a few reviews, kind of seeing like different points of views, but I was curious, like, what's your review of Long Halloween? Like, how did it sit with you?
I'm reading it as like a big book, so it's a different experience than reading it issue to issue, and I have to take that into consideration. I think just sitting down and reading it, and it's a journey. It's a long haul. I like it. There's a lot of great elements. I love the Godfather nods. I love the noir. I love those black and white with a little colored, holiday trinket and the murder scenes. I love the pacing of it. And like you were saying earlier, about the transition between the rogues gallery from mobsters to supervillains, or to, like you said, the more theatrical villains. I don't think they needed all of that. I don't know if it was like, okay, we need to have more people in here. We need to have everybody in here. Or if Tim Sale's like, I want to draw everybody. It's like, I don't think we need the Joker in this. I don't think we need Mad Hatter. I don't think we need the Scarecrow. The Riddler is like a little, is kind of like, basically trying to do the exposition and theories on who could have done this. It's called, I wish it was a more streamlined noir detective story, and then that way when that reveal of Two-Face at the end is like the monstrous supervillain, that impact is more, because then you see Joker and how crazy he looks in this.
How can you go any further?
And it's like, oh, Two-Face, okay, that's cool too. But if it's all mobsters, the Riddler's just a dude in a question mark suit. If you have all these guys, and then that transition where that really cool panel with Two-Face and all the villains in the office, as that is like your last page of like, this is our, that we're running this town now. That impact I think would be greater. But of course, I'm not sure if it was like a deal, okay, we have to
throw everything but plus the kitchen sink in this,
it's like, okay, we need more Batman in this story. It can't just be a Harvey Dent story. I would have liked it if it was more, and it is, but if it was more a Harvey Dent story, and then Batman's kind of like the, observing everything, being a detective and gathering all the clues and stuff like that. And it's still excellent. It's still a great story. It's just, I think it's just a little bloated for my tastes, if that makes sense.
No, that's fair enough.
And it's just, I know it's a comic and we need crazy visuals, and it might bore a lot of people, because they pick up a Batman comic, they want to see crazy villains and fights and stuff. But I would have liked to have seen it as like a more streamlined noir detective story with the big reveal as Two-Face, and that's the change. That's the new regime coming in to run Gotham.
It's kind of a weird problem to have because Batman has all these bad guys and he's got all these really, really interesting bad guys. But you're going to do a story that revolves around the mob. It's kind of ludicrous to think that none of his rogues gallery would be involved or wouldn't be narcissistic enough to intervene in some weird way if there was a serial killer going around doing stuff that they weren't. I think it was. There's too much. I like this. I want to talk shit, but this has a lot going on for everything that's in this comic. I think a lot of. I don't say problems because I don't think they're problems because this is all just opinion. But
it's a different approach.
I think a lot of those issues were fixed with Hush because it's kind of the same idea where you have a bunch of different bad guys all kind of woven together. And to Ed, like you find out at the end, like it was kind of one singular guy, just not the guy you thought. Hush is more or less like the more streamlined version of the Long Halloween, But this story is kind of there's too many twists at the end. I think I really like it, but I mean it's just like it's like the holiday spoilers. If you listen to this and what are you doing? So, but I'm going to say spoilers anyway. On a 20-something-year-old comic.
It's the least we could
25 years. The last year was its 25th year, 25 years.
Yeah. Spoilers. If it's like Holiday was Alfredo. Ooh, gotcha. But it really wasn't. It was Harvey Dent. Ooh, gotcha. But really wasn't. It was Gilda and Harvey Dent.
Yeah, the thing, too, with Gilda being the reveal, and it's like, and we were kind of talking about this earlier, it was not enough to,
clues, right?
Yeah, I mean... And I think it's like a twist for the sake of a twist, but
well, they fixed it in the cartoon. Did anyone here watch the cartoon that they just did?
Oh no, it's 2 parts. It was like they 4-hour
fixed. I don't want to say fixed, but it's good. It's really good. They do a twist that's completely different. Like essentially, Gilda is Holiday like the whole time, and the reason why is because she was in a relationship with Alfredo or Fredo. What was his name?
Isn't it Alberto?
Alberto. Thank you. I'm saying Fredo because of The Godfather. Alberto.
I thought you were just hungry. I was like, man, my man.
Don Ravioli, fettuccine.
You're talking about the good son, right?
The good son.
Yes.
Okay.
They had a relationship together.
See, that'd be something
because
cool.
the mob didn't sanction it, not only did they say, hey, put a stop to that shit, but they kind of forced her to have an abortion. So her motivation for taking out all these people is basically vengeance. And Batman, by the end of the cartoon, finds out, solves the mystery, and does dick all about it because he's like, yeah, you know what? That's fucked. I'm just going to let you live your life. Like, that's completely fucked. And Harvey takes the fall because he doesn't want her to go to prison. It's fucking great. The cartoon's really good.
I like that. I like that twist.
That's a better, so at least there's motive.
And I had a similar attitude towards the end too. What I will say, what kept me pretty entrenched and entranced throughout the whole story was, I think it's a very moody story. It captures like a mood really well. Like they really do a good job at building up the crime and like who this killer is.
There's a consistent tone.
Yeah, consistent. Thank you so much. I think consistency not only in the tone, but also throughout the art style as well. Splash pages at the beginning and end, some of the color schemes. But story wise, I think tonally they do a really good job in the beginning, like setting it up, like setting up the players on the board. To me, Carmine Falcone, was probably my favorite character. I think I'm right there with you, Ed, where I wish they would have spent more time on the mob family instead of introducing a new villain of the week every episode.
Yeah, even like Falcone's sister, Carla, she has, I think, more motive than most because both her sons are killed.
It made me feel bad for Harvey Dent. Everyone knows like the origin story or whatever, but I feel like in this he was like so sympathetic, where previously I just really haven't cared about him at all. Like even in the movies, he's just been kind of like, all right.
Yeah, this is the most they've fleshed out the character too, this story arc.
You're supposed to feel that way. I mean, that's how Batman feels about him. Like that's kind of why Harvey gets not a pass, but it's Harvey kind of represents of all of Batman's villains that have sort of like issues. They aren't rooted in narcissism. He like really has legit hurt and pain that kind of caused him to be what he is. And there's something like clinically and physiologically wrong with his brain. So it's almost like he can't help it.
Yeah, when he visited his dad to get the coin, you know, there's like his dad has some mental issues as well. So that also could be like, well, this, you know, a lot of times that stuff is, you know, genetic as well. So that could be part of his whole puzzle.
The track of the Harvey Dent track of this story was so compelling to me that I thought this was his first appearance, like a dumbass. I was like, wait, is this the first appearance? Is Long Halloween the first appearance of Harvey Dent? But he premiered like much earlier on in Batman. But I think to Ed's point, no one had really fleshed out like his transformation from...
He made like 2 appearances and then till the 70s, you know, he was kind of on the shelf. He made
Got
2.
it. Okay, so he wasn't being used a lot.
Yeah, Bill Finger and, well, I'm going to say Bob Kane and Bill Finger, but Bill Finger probably came up with him. And like I said, his name was, which is a cool nod they do here, which his name was Harvey and his nickname was Apollo and Kent, but they had to change it because they didn't want him related to Superman, which, but how cool a story would that be? Imagine being the brother of Superman and you're just like second fiddle all your life. You can't shoot lasers out of your eyes. You can't lift up trucks when you're a baby.
And acid actually seems to affect you.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, I get burned. He's invincible. They can't even put a vaccination in this guy.
Actually, I think I read somewhere that you know, Archie Goodwin was the one that came that proposed to Tim Sale and Jeff Loeb.
Yeah.
Hey, do you guys want to do more Batman stuff? Like, because they did like those Halloween specials, and I think the Dark Knight. One of them Batman spinoffs, but he gave them the opportunity to write more Batman and proposed, hey, let's set this shortly after year 1 because of how successful that was. And it was Mark Waid that like told Jeff, or, you know, gave the idea to Jeff Loeb, like, hey, like you should continue on a Harvey Dent story from year 1, like really flesh that out into how he becomes Two-Face.
And it's cool that Gilda calls him Apollo. That's kind of a cool nod to his old
that's pretty cool.
Golden Age name. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. See, what about you? Any like standout panels that like come to mind, or any moments in any particular issue?
I mean, the classic, all the rogues gallery just kind of lined up there. Seeing Bruce Wayne with all that freaking foliage and flora all over his body, like Poison Ivy just fucked him up bad. but like got my boy like, oh no.
Consider how much like foliage and I guess ivy she had to use, right? Like for Bruce Wayne. I kind of took it as like his willpower was so much like she needed a full body armor of green to like control him.
Meanwhile, Superman just needs a flower.
That's true.
Just saying. Yeah, just Clark there.
Yeah, no, I've got that panel actually. I screenshotted a few of like my favorite panels, and see, I've got that one you're talking about where all the rogues gallery are waiting for Batman, and I think Harvey Dent's office or something like that. It was like towards the tail end.
Yeah. And how cool, man, I love this. That was probably one of my favorite Solomon Grundys he draws.
Oh, man.
Love how he looks in this.
Yeah. And I mean, Solomon Grundy opens up the story, right? Isn't he like issue 1 or 2 or something like that? Like very early on.
I think
like
so.
He's like the first rogue I think he finds.
Yeah, because my man gets a Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah. Batman dropped some turkey down there in the sewer. Put a cover on it. They didn't even put a cover on that plate, bro. Hey, I'm in the sewers, man. Did you use some Tupperware? I don't need it on your finest china. Put it in the Tupperware.
He sleeps in shit, Ed. I don't think he'll mind.
Yeah.
That's fine, but you know, just out of courtesy. See, just courtesy.
He's like born on a Monday, died. What the fuck is this, dude? Wow, man! Like you couldn't just saran wrap it. You know what? It's fine. I'm thankful. Thank you.
I
Turkey's a bit dry.
Yeah.
Preferred a fried Cajun injection, but
Is this still cold? You couldn't at least microwave it on your way over? You don't have a bat microwave in the Batmobile?
Solomon Grundy have diarrhea on a Wednesday.
You know what I'm saying?
He's in the perfect place,
They're going to call him Salmonella Grundy.
All right. Playing on the whole holiday thing, right? Like every issue is a different holiday. The New Year's issue is with Joker. I think St. Patrick's Day with Poison Ivy. Like it just kind of makes sense, right? Having a theme played out to that extent, like it could have easily just kind of become corny or overbearing. I think it's fresh, man. To me, it's still like as fresh as the first time I read it. Like from the stylistic choice of some of the way that Tim Sale decides to portray Batman to having him involved in like this. Yeah, it's like yes, he's involved in a murder mystery. Makes sense for Batman. But now we've got the element of like these holiday seasons. It's pretty cool, man. I definitely enjoyed this a lot. I wanted to talk about how Matt Reeves has credited Long Halloween as well as like Year One and Batman Ego as being a primary source of inspiration for the new film that we're going to see. I wanted to know, like, based on what we've seen from the trailers, which isn't much. I think there's been like 2 or 3 trailers, maybe even 4 if you count the teaser. What are your thoughts and best guesses on what elements from the comics may be used in the film? And Ashley, I'll go to you if you want to kick us off.
I feel like we were talking about this earlier. Like he's just kind of saying like what people want to hear. These are like the best Batman stories. So he's like, oh yeah, this is what I use.
He's my teacher. I gotta save Long Halloween.
But like as far as the trailers, I haven't watched any of the trailers. Like I'm not a trailer person.
I know why I gave you this question. You're right. You don't watch trailers.
I want everything to be like fresh. I don't want to be like seeing a scene in my head and waiting for it down the road in the movie. So I've seen like images, but I haven't seen any trailers yet.
Fair enough. That was not a good question for you, Ashley. I like how you knocked that one down.
We will never ask you anything again.
Well, I guess
she never saw it as a kid, and she didn't watch the trailer, so you can strike those 2 questions off.
I feel like she's got a thing against Batman. All right, well then, Ed, I'll go to you for this one.
I'm guessing it's going to keep some of that film noir, just because I've only watched that like really short trailer with he's just walking down the hallway getting shot, and then the Penguin looking like just a gross looking mobster. That's Colin Farrell, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. Okay.
I gotta like kind of keep reminding myself it's Colin Farrell. I think
it's strange.
I think I seen somewhere where he was talking about like the makeup that they put on was so horrifying. Like his kids didn't want to be around it when he had it on.
Yeah, I think it'll take some of those visual elements, but I never trust any time these guys talk about what this is their influence is going to be. It's kind of should treat it as its own thing. I don't know if that's just lip service to the fans, where they're like, oh, we actually read this comic. They want to go the opposite of Shoemaker's Batman's, where he never read a comic in his life. I don't know. I tried to kind of take those statements with a grain of salt, but I think it'll keep kind of like a film noir element, just I hate saying this dark and gritty look, but it's going to be not a lot of light, but I think it's going to be not like a Zack Snyder type of darkness. I think it's going to be a little more contemporary, I guess.
It sounds like they're really kind of leaning, at least as far as like the interviews and promo. Who wrote Doo-Doo Brown in my outline? See, it tells me who is writing this stuff.
That's not me, man.
Who wrote Doo-Doo Brown, John Turturro? You dumbass. But back to what I was saying.
It's funny. Ashley sees it before anyone else, and I don't know how.
That is funny.
Is my video working?
Yeah, we can.
I see you. I see you laughing.
See me? Okay.
Yes.
Ashley's over there like picking her nose, like thinking the camera's off.
I don't know why that's so funny.
Doo-Doo Brown,
hilarious.
Because
I'm
Doo-Doo
10
Brown
years old.
is always going to be funny, no matter how old we get. But back to what I was saying. I think from the recent press runs, they have both really, Robert Pattinson and especially Matt Reeves, have both highlighted how this is going to really lean in on like Batman's detective skills. Even the synopsis of the movie states, when a killer targets Gotham Elite, a trail of cryptic clues sends the world's greatest detective on an investigation into the underworld where he encounters such characters as Selena Kyle, Penguin, Carmine Falcone, and then the Riddler. So, I mean, if you're comparing that Long Halloween, it's kind of like the same thing, right? fucking
The Riddler's more serious in this movie.
yeah. You got a sadistic killer. No one knows who it is. He's committing crimes against like these the underworld and whatnot. So I think there might be some threads there that'll be similar to Long Halloween, and just the fact that we've got Carmine Falcone, return, played by John Doodoo Brown, John Turturro, in this movie too.
I think this is going to be I'm going to say it now.
Uh-oh.
I don't think we've actually seen a Batman movie before. I don't think we've seen one because if you break them down, like he hasn't acted like Batman really does in the comics. We haven't yet seen a Sherlock Holmes who also is very, very fit, solve crimes, right? It's essentially like it's a cop. Like Batman's like a wannabe cop in most of the movies we've seen, especially in Nolan's trilogy. Like no shade thrown because I love those movies, but they're extremely dated. And like those movies seem more or less like a psychological response to Batman versus terrorism, like that's not really a detective story. There really isn't much detective work going on. You look at Zack Snyder, they imply that a lot of implications about detective work, but no real detective work seen.
It always feels like they're. I agree with this point. It always feels like they're leaning in on like the Batman meme culture, where it's like, I'm Batman. I already know everything, rather than showing us like how why we should respect the fact that he knows everything.
Right. Well, and also like people are dumb and they just want to see man in bat costume punch other face. So. I understand. No one wants to see that, but I don't know. I love Matt Reeves. I think everything he's done is awesome. I think he's a very solid director. I think this is going to be the first time we actually see Batman in that capacity. And when he says stuff like, Long Halloween, it's a weird choice considering this is the one case that, not one, I'm sure there's plenty, but where Batman fucking didn't solve he failed. He didn't, do the crime, like didn't figure it out.
Well, at the end, he's like, it's Two-Face. I'm like, well, no, it's Two-Face. We're done. It's been 13 issues. Let's get out of this story.
That's a good point. Yeah, Batman kind of like played the sidelines.
He didn't do it. Yeah, he's like kind of not really in this.
Batman at the end was like, nuh-uh. Her? Real quick to go back to the topic of Matt Reeves, I read somewhere that he was really excited to cast Robert Pattinson, because, he wanted to do a younger Batman, tell the younger years, like kind of like that year one vibe. And Robert Pattinson was like at the very top of his list. He ends up finding Robert Pattinson's like a huge Batman fan. So, ideal choice. But Robert Pattinson still had to audition for the role. And apparently he was surprised about the auditioning because they wanted him in a Batman suit. But they also weren't going to build a whole new suit for someone they weren't really sure was going to get the part.
Right.
So he actually had to do it. And I guess this is like a tradition, period.
That's a common thing, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know that, like, they have...
Cillian Murphy, the guy who played Scarecrow, he initially auditioned to play Batman in Batman Begins. Like, he wanted to be Bruce Wayne Batman. So they made him audition in the Batman Forever costume that Val Kilmer had to wear.
Robert Pattinson did it in Val Kilmer's old bat suit, and he was like, it didn't quite fit, and when it gets hot, that shit, like, because it's plastic, it just kind of like morphs and stuff. And I guess Warner Brothers is already feeling good about this movie because they apparently like they've already got sequels and like Gotham-based spin-offs already being planned, which is never like, I don't know. I mean, it's a good sign because, it kind of tells you that, they're kind of invested in this, but at the same time, it's kind of like putting the cart before the horse, right? It's like, let's see how it goes.
They're always going to
It's like putting the bat before the cave. All kidding aside, I got a question.
Vengeance.
Jesus, Potter. You and that fucking thing, man.
I want to shout out Zoom for creating the P4 with the built-in sound pads.
You better watch your show notes closely. It's about to get really, really like
I already
junior high
can't.
schoolish.
I already can't recognize him. D's nuts, Matt Reeves, comics, caca. I'm sure I haven't even gone down the list.
Listeners, just so you know, for the visual gag that's going on, we have a sort of Google Doc file that we all kind of share and we use as far as our notes for the shows are concerned. And I, like a terrorist keeping Gotham at bay, have been writing poopy little notes in between and not really saying anything. So whenever Botter tries to toss to somebody, all I'll hear is like a what?
I didn't write D's nuts.
But I was going to say that we were talking about Matt Reeves, and he's definitely a dude that I respect.
Same.
something that he's done is kind of interesting is that he's sort of updated one of these trailers, the Bat and the Cat trailer, to basically advertise comic books and promote comic book shops. So I don't know, like, what are your guys' thoughts on that sort of idea, that kind of tactic, and a story like this being advertised to a wider audience? You know, what does that do for comic books and the nature of our culture in general?
Ashley, do you want to take that one before I give my long-winded answer?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I feel like they should have been doing this a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Because there are, comic shops where if you've never been in a comic shop before, it can be a little like overwhelming. And if you go in with like a title and then you can get like a conversation started. I like this idea. I wish that we had like always been, doing this more or less, but like, I love it when people like walk in and they're like, hey, do you have this? And even if I don't, I'm like, no, but here, like, try this. This is my recommendation.
Yeah, I never, like, just working at the shop, I'd never seen a huge correlation of movies coming out and an interest from general public, non-comic people. They kind of, comic shops, I think, almost kind of cornered themselves in their own niche, where it's not as a welcoming a place as you would like, And like I said, the only two things that I can remember that really got people wanting to know stuff, was I think Wonder Woman and Black Panther. Those were the two, like, at least at my shop, where it's like, where's all the Black Panther stuff? It's like, it's coming. Don't worry. It's on its way. So it's like, those were the two that I can recall where like a trailer would come out or news would come out. It's like, hey, what's going on with, it's like, do you have any Wonder Woman stuff? Like, girls would come in, with their daughters or sisters and stuff. Let's look at the Wonder Woman stuff, which is really cool. Yeah. The Black Panther stuff, of course, like I said, that community, come in, like the African-American community folks would come in who are not, you tell they never read a comic. They're like, where's that Black Panther stuff at?
Spike Lee wants to do the comic shop.
No, but you just get some, non-comic book people interested. And that's, at least for me, I know it's different everywhere, but at least for me, those are the only two movies that really generated any interest that I witnessed firsthand.
Yeah.
So you think because of this comic that a lot of Italian Americans are going to come into comic book shops?
Oh, those are Irish too. Those Irish guys get a,
I'm going to need the fried ravioli.
Those Irish,
like when they go into the comic book shops, you say, hey, when you're here, your family.
It's like, try the cannoli, Bruce. Hey, I flew it in from the...
So I'd say Umbrella Academy too. I don't know if you agree, Ed, but...
I was gone by the time that came out, so...
Umbrella Academy, I had tons of like high school girls with septum piercings.
Well, there's the Gerard Way connection too.
Because of My Chemical Romance?
Yeah,
I would think so.
It was crazy.
I mean, he still
That's
has
adorable.
appeal. Yeah, he still has an appeal as much as he's been doing comic book work, but the Young Animal stuff, I didn't really see that reaction, but I could see the Umbrella Academy doing that for sure.
Now I can only imagine these girls Ashley just described the septum piercings walking through the shop like,
I'm vengeance.
Yeah, but they're sharing like headphones. Like one has one earbud, the other has the other one, and they're like, when I was a young man, my father took me into the city.
Yeah, I do agree with Ashley that this does feel like something they should have done. Like, it feels like almost like simple math that was overlooked for this long. Like, it should have been a standard practice across all comic book movies to have, I mean, think about it. Like, it probably didn't cost them much to, because it's not like a fucking virtual comic book.
It's easy.
It's an ad that literally just says, go buy these comics at your local shop or read them digital on DC Universe. So
it's like, hey, we're going to make cheese. Should we tell people in Wisconsin?
Yeah. So, and my thing too is, if you aren't going to pay the creators of these comics shit, or as Cesar wrote in my notes, caca. If you're not going to pay the creators of these comics that you're referencing and influenced by, and that you're basing these movies off of, the very least you can do is promote the work they have going on to put eyeballs and attention on their brand, and it could be beneficial for those creators, right? Like, now all right, well, Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale are now on my radar. What are they doing? Right. I wonder if they're doing anything, creator owned. Like, that's the very least you could do is promote and give, essentially free advertisement for these creators. I know that's not how fucking corporations work. I get it, but bear with me.
But even before, like, remember when, like, Marvel, especially back in the day, they would do the movie adaptations, but, expanded versions of it. I mean, even something like that. I know Marvel does a thing where when, like, a sequel would come out, they would do a comic that was basically like the first movie. I don't know if they still do something like that, but there's not even really
the movie adaptation of the comics.
Movie. Because that's, especially because I know they've done, like, DC and in Marvel, they've done stuff to kind of mirror their animated series, which, for the kids and stuff and people would recognize, but they don't seem to really do that for the movie universe, because that's a lot of people's entry points now.
And I mean, speaking about entry points, like, think about how this could essentially be someone's introduction to, or springboard to get into, like, Batman comics specifically. This could be the film that inspires them to go pick up, Long Halloween. And it's kind of like, well, make it if I was DC's, like, make it dummy proof to lead them to where they need to go to, like, read the next.
Like, you get, like, a dude who sells cars, like, hey, I'm Crazy Batman and I've got sales for you. Do you like the Joker?
Yeah.
Do you like the Riddler? Well, if you come down to Crazy Batman's store, our prices are so crazy, I'll eat this car tire. Read the long Halloween, and you'll be saving all year long.
I need to make
Hey, real quick, I need a reminder for our next short box promo. We'll eat a whole short box. Note that for later.
Crazy things are happening at the studio. We'll eat an entire short box for you to cut down on prices.
Remember, like, when they used to throw stuff off roofs and stuff? We'll throw this comic off the roof.
It just kind of like floats. It just floats. Floats down. But anyways, I'll wrap up by saying I just don't see. I just feel like the benefits of adding a small static image telling people to go read comic books at the end of a trailer that has garnered what? If I go on YouTube right now, either of those fucking Batman trailers probably have 1 to 2 million views, right? Like, that is free eyeballs. That is, like, a great way to get eyeballs on comic books. And it's just beneficial for everyone in that ecosystem, right? Like, it's beneficial for the comic shops and retailers that stock these books. It's beneficial for the creators and publishers and et cetera, et cetera. Like, I do want to, and I also want to give credit to James Gunn, who apparently I think might have did it first with the Suicide Squad, for his Suicide Squad movie. He had a kind of similar thing too. At the end of the trailer, he had a little ad, hey, go check out these Suicide Squad comics at your local comic shops or read them on the DC Universe app.
At DC Comics, we're so crazy, we're killing ourselves to get these prices to you. Suicide Squad. What? I can't say that? We don't say... Okay, the bad message.
Self-harm squadron.
Oh. The self-imploding squadron. There you go. All right. I think we've talked enough about Long Halloween. I think we're all excited for what Matt Reeves brings us in this new Batman movie. I want to wrap up and go on to our next segment. Before we do that, let's go and give our own recommendations and point people towards great follow-up comics and other media they can check out as far as Batman goes. Oh. I'll look to you, man. Where should people go if they end up enjoying the movie outside of Long Halloween? I mean, for the most part, this has been a giant commercial to go read Long Halloween. What else would you recommend people check out Batman-wise?
I mean, there's so much. You got 80 years of good Batman stuff out there. I mean, the animated series is great. That's probably my favorite incarnation of Batman. But if that's not good enough for you, I would say you could check out... DC has been putting out these sort of like Legends of the Dark Knight hardcover books that have like different artists showcased. My suggestion, because I'm old, is the Marshall Rogers book, because that has the Laughing Fish story in it. Ooh, and quite possibly the scariest portrayal of the Joker in history. I think Marshall Rogers draws the creepiest Joker, and because he looks very real. And just scary looking Joker. Scarier than, dare I say it, Neil Adams. But anyway, yeah, I would suggest that. I think that's pretty good.
Solid pick. Ashley, what about you? What would you recommend?
I would say my favorite Batman story, and the one that I think has like the only Two-Face that I think looks as like horrible and disgusting is Arkham Asylum.
Oh yeah.
He took my pick.
The Grant Morrison, Dave McKean. That was yours, Ed? Is that what you said?
My pick. Yeah, he took my pick.
Oh, but yeah, it's such a good book, and just every page is just like amazing, just artwork on every page.
I will admit, I've never read that, so I might have to check it out.
Seriously?
If you
No,
like
never.
Sienkiewicz,
Arkham Asylum, a serious house on serious Earth,
Yeah.
really?
No, I've not. Thank God you're not here in person. I feel like you'd probably punch me right now. Like,
Man,
if you were-
this knife hand is coming at you, man.
that
not the
book,
knife hands.
that book made Grant Morrison a millionaire because he got
What?
$1 a copy. Of
Get the
book
fuck
sold.
out of here.
Millionaire right off the bat.
God bless that crazy
God.
wizard.
Wow.
He's been more and more insane ever since. He got $1 a copy. Whatever sold, he got $1.
That's- I did not know
wild.
Okay, and which kind of goes back. I'm sorry, I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but you bring up a good point. Grant Morrison is kind of like an exception to this rule. The dude is doing pretty well for himself. His contracts, I imagine, have always been pretty epic. But
Yeah.
think about like if other creators, and I know other creators have some sort of licensing publishing deal, maybe not $1 a fucking copy, but even if it's like,
But that was a prestige format
Yeah,
book. It was released as a prestige hardcover.
but if you're promoting comic books in these movie trailers that are reaching this this wide audience, these millions of people, think about like what that could mean for a creator who is like has a deal sort of like that. Maybe not $1 a comic, but even fucking 10 cents, a print or a copy.
Yeah, they have
Oh
a
my
pretty
God, that would
beneficial.
healthy royalty system in
Exactly,
place now. So
exactly.
it's a lot better than
They could
what
be
it used
doing
to be.
more for sure.
Yeah.
All right, I'll wrap up by giving my recommendations, and these kind of tie into the whole, the Batman movie and whatnot. But a lot of the Batman Legends of the Dark Knight stories. Robert Pattinson
yeah.
said that Shaman was a big influence.
Yeah,
on
that's
him.
a deep cut. That's
Yeah, when I seen that,
that
I was
is a
like,
big-
okay, he's
he
apparently
probably actually reads this
for
stuff.
sure.
If he's throwing out shaman.
He's been training his jawline. Look at that, man. He's got a Batman jawline already, like prepackaged.
But he was saying like Batman Shaman, which is I think it's like what a 3 or 4 issue story arc in Legends of the Dark Knight. For anyone that's not familiar, Legends of the Dark Knight was like was it a 90s series or did it come out before the 90s?
Oh, yeah. It was super nice.
Super 90s. Okay.
yeah.
So it was a 90s anthology Batman series where every couple of issues was a self-contained story arc. And honestly, it's a great jumping on point if you want to get the most bang for your buck as far as different creators, writers, and artists on Batman and, short form stories. Robert Pattinson was saying that Shaman was one that he enjoyed because it kind of tells the earlier years of Batman. In this case, he is being saved by a shaman in Alaska. And it's kind of like a very more mystic kind of story or angle of Batman. And I think it was one that really resonated with Pattinson. He was saying that that he took a lot out of that into how he moved in the suit when it comes to the movie. So
Yeah.
That shit is so 90s when you open it up. It's like, wish you'd step back from that ledge, my friend.
Oh, you can just look at the design and the layout and stuff. It's like, oh, this is super 90s. But another one I'll throw in just to
throw it in.
something more. But I think another one it's easy accessible as the Court of Owls by Scott Snyder.
For
and
sure.
Capullo.
That's a new age classic.
It's a new 52, one of the few bright spots of the new 52, in my opinion. But it's a cool because he introduces some new mythology and new
Yeah, new
characters
blood.
and I've kind of liked Batman with a little horror tinge to it. So I think that's a good one to pick up too.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, Shortbox Nation, we've given you recommendations. We've talked ad nauseum about Matt Reeves, about Long Halloween, and all of that. So I'm going to turn the tables on you. Tell us what you think about Long Halloween. Where does it sit on your list of best of all time Batman stories? Or tell me about the animated film that came out last year. Have you watched it? Is it any good? Is it worth watching? I want to know the answer to all those questions. Let us know the answer in a short email. Send it to our inbox at theshortboxjacks@gmail.com. We're going to play some music from our good friend DJ Crumbs before we come back and do the last segments of the show. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back to business after this short break. Potter is about to get Epstein. Wait, what the hell does that mean?
Hold on.
All right, I gotta fix this outline and lock C out. So we'll play some
This
music.
is not even, I didn't even do it, dude. I'm trying to stop it.
whatever.
The city has been taken over by terrorists.
Yeah.
I'm the cure.
Enjoy the music. We'll be right back, folks. We'll follow up next week. All right, listeners, we are back from music break. C is still terrorizing my outline. I don't even want to repeat what he's written on here, but I don't want you to forget that the music you just heard was brought to you by DJ Crumbs. Check out the link in our show notes to see some of the art he makes on top of some of the music he also produces. All right, shout out to DJ Crumbs. Normally we do emails during this segment after music break, but we're going to skip it this week to save up and read in full for next time when we're all here, and to entice some emails and submissions from you guys. I'll even raffle off a copy here for the camera. Where's that at? All right, I don't have it on me, so I can't show it in front of the camera, but I'll even raffle off a copy of Gotham's retailer incentive variant cover for Amazing Spider-Man number 88. It's the first appearance of Goblin Queen. I'll give it to one lucky winner. Oh, you got it? There we go. Never mind. I got it. I can show it for the camera. You guys have probably already seen it. I mean, post it all the time. But anyways, yeah, I will raffle this off to one lucky listener who sends in a good email about Batman. Prompt wise, what should the prompt be this week? I
would say, I was going to say, how about categorize your top 5 Batmobiles?
Ooh, top 5 Batmobiles.
Animated series.
I guess how many Batmobiles has there been?
Goodness, dude. Think about from the 60s.
Oh, the one with the face on it's pretty cool.
Okay.
Think about, well, I mean, you could do it in pop culture too, as far as movies are concerned. There have been plenty, enough.
The Adam West one's pretty cool too.
Where does this new Batmobile stack in your list of, Batmobiles in the past?
Extra points if you give us your full top 5 Batmobiles.
Tumblr, you're automatically disqualified.
I
have the ability to win this completely unrelated Spider-Man comic book.
Oh, you sound like Stan Lee in The Simpsons when he's like trying to get like. When you remember The Simpsons, where he's like, "Hey, wouldn't you rather a Marvel character be inside this?"
And he smashes
it like a Batmobile. He's like smashing it inside there.
That's right. That is pretty good. That's a good little
Somewhere
comment.
Warren's like, "You said the fucking line wrong."
All right. Write in your prompt.
And he's right.
Yeah, write in your prompt. Send us your Batmobile list. We'll read it when we're all back together. Short email, emphasis on short. Send that to our inbox at theshortboxjacks@gmail.com, and we'll take care of the rest. With that out the way, pretty quick, man. This will be a quick episode this week, but we are now going to go to our last recurring segment. For the show. It's now time to champion our favorite entertainment picks from across the larger pop culture universe, and hopefully put you on to some things that we've been hyped on this week.
Champion Season.
Champion Season is the part of the show where we highlight other worthwhile entertainment, media, and recommendations that deserve your attention. These could be much more than comics, but include our movie picks, TV series, books, or video games, and really anything else that we can't put down. When I pee, it comes out like soup. God damn it, C. Got me again. This segment is brought to you by Black Hive Tattoo, Jacksonville's premier appointment-only custom tattoo studio. If you're searching for a group of talented artists who will work with you to bring your comic culture ideas to life, then look no further. Go to blackhivetatattoo.com and sign up for the newsletter to find out when they're taking new project requests. You know what? See, just because apparently you've got all this time on your hands to ruin my outline and script, how about you go and kick us off and
Sure.
tell us what you're going to champion today?
Sure. So my first champion is going to be, oh my God, visual reference. Ooh, that's for the patrons. And I will also say it for all the other plebes. It is the new D&D book called Icewind Dale. Dungeons & Dragons created a new adventure called Icewind Dale. And Rime of the Frost Maiden is the subheading on it. And it's pretty sweet. They actually said in the back of the book that the adventure was heavily influenced by H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness. Ooh. And books where it's like super cold and you're by yourself. So The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing would count. And I'm, trying to read it to incorporate it into maybe an adventure that I am running currently. And use some of these weird isolation, loneliness elements in the game. So it's pretty cool. I like the artwork and I like the storytelling devices within it. I'm also going to champion, as per Botter Milligan, who has been trying to get me to watch. Oh man, really? You gave yourself?
If you have to say, the Botter Milligan part again. Okay.
You gave yourself an applause break.
You know,
are you happy with yourself? Are you happy with yourself? Are you happy with yourself right now?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Damn it. You know why? Because
I know why. I know exactly why. Do you really want to? Do you really want to take that?
Hell yeah. That's
why, my
baby.
fucking champion,
That's
dude.
why.
You've been trying to get me to watch Peacemaker for like weeks now, and you're like, dude, see, I know there are stuff in here you might like, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, I know, I'm pretty sure. It's just I got stuff to do, and it's just kind of like, I don't know, man. I finally got around to watching an episode, and by God, is ridiculously fun. Is a very fun show. You've already said enough about it in the past. I'll just basically say you were right. And then my last champion will be Pam and Tommy on Hulu, which is really good.
Who made you watch that?
So Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg are head of Point Grey Productions. And anything Point Grey has done, I've really been a fan of. And I didn't know to what extent they were involved in this. As soon as I found out that they were both involved and it was their production company, I 100% wanted to watch it. And all these stills of Sebastian Stan, I was like, I don't know if he could play Tommy Lee. I don't know. He's not heroin-y enough, if that makes sense. He doesn't look like a drug addict enough. Whoa, those productions, I guess the photo stills for the production and the promo do not capture how horrible he looks, but he nails Tommy Lee. Like he gets like the goofy looking smile that he does. Like I'm not a big fan of Motley Crue. I like their first two albums, and as a result, they're on my. I'm sure like Ed, they're in the metal rotation as a result of honorary status in some one or two things, right? But his face is so he's such a good actor. Sebastian Stan is a great actor. He nails Tommy Lee's like facial expressions and like how loud and how big and how boisterous a character he is. It's really, really weird.
Do they have anybody else in the playing Motley Crue band members in that?
Yes, Nick. They have actors that play all of them, like Vince, Mick Mars, and Nikki Sixx all show up. And even Third Eye Blind shows up, which is really funny. And they kind of give Motley Crue a little bit of shit, but it's really, really interesting, that whole thing. I don't know the details of how much is true to life regarding the guy who stole their sex tape, like Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee's sex tape, and how it got out. But it's funny seeing, like, you're like, oh yeah, like everybody had to use dial up, and the way they talk about the internet is so funny. Like, it's like, no, you don't understand. You can have total anonymity. Like, you could just roll up in here and just be like, yeah, just send me money and our names won't show up. Andrew Dice Clay plays like a loan shark. It's fantastic. It's a good show.
Oh, cool. Good stuff. Ashley, what about you? What are you going to champion today?
So I've caught up on a few things that are really good. I finished Peacemaker.
Hell yeah.
And I have to say, I think my issue was I feel like the first two episodes were the weakest ones. So I got kind of caught up, and then once I got past that, like, I finished it, and it was really good, honestly.
Okay,
like,
cool.
It was so fun. I liked it a lot. And then I'm caught up on The Righteous Gemstones season 2 on HBO. That show, it's Danny McBride, John Goodman, Walton Goggins, and it makes me laugh until I'm literally crying. It's so funny. This past episode had Macaulay Culkin in it.
Oh no.
It's just, if you just want to like laugh, Walton Goggins, I had no idea how funny he was as like comedic actor. Walton Goggins just absolutely kills me every time he's like in a scene. He steals the whole scene. It's so funny. I think there's a new episode tonight, so can't wait.
Good stuff. Ashley, is it safe to, it was my assumption safe that you probably were a big fan of Vigilante and Peacemaker?
Yeah, actually, my favorite character for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about his brand of comedy. I was like, I think Ashley would absolutely fuck with this guy. He's very like cool.
The scene in the jail where he's talking to all the like the Nazi guys, might be one of my favorite scenes in the whole show.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's good stuff. Awesome. Ed, what about you, man? What are you going to champion today?
Got two. There's one. It's Vox Machina on Amazon Prime. I'm not familiar with its origins, but it was based on a Dungeons and Dragons campaign done by voice actors, like a web series.
Oh, this is the Geek and Sundry show.
Yeah. And I guess it was a comic, but they dropped an animated series. I guess it was Kickstarted because nobody, like, I guess no studios would pick it up. So they did a Kickstarter, and it's either one of the biggest, I think it edged out Mystery Science Theater as far as how much money they got. So they got a good amount. But it's an animated Dungeons and Dragons fantasy series with a lot of cursing and, fun stuff. But seeing this makes me want to see a Rat Queens cartoon. If you like that kind of humor, because I'm more familiar with that than the Vox Machina, but if you like that kind of humor, the Rat Queens kind of approach to fantasy world, you'll like this show a lot. It's good animation. Like I said, I just watched the first 2 episodes, and yeah, it's funny. It's a fun show. And the second one is a comic that just came out this week, Step by Bloody Step. Have you guys seen this?
I have not.
I've heard of it.
I'm going to do an elevator pitch, Iron Giant in a fantasy setting. So, but it's a lot different than that. It's basically wordless. I think the whole series is going to be wordless. And it is it's by, I think, Cy Spurrier, Mateus Bergera, and Matthias Lopez. But basically it's a young girl found by this either sentient suit of armor or, robot. I'm not sure what it is exactly. They kind of give a clue at the end, but I don't want to spoil it. But it's completely wordless. There's some symbols and stuff that represent a language, but there's no, dialogue in it. And it's just a beautiful, kind of like, say, European style. It's like something you'd see in a heavy metal art-wise. Beautiful color palette. It's like a really, really cool series. Really cool first issue.
I won't lie. One is from Image, which is already a pro. But then I saw the $4.99 price tag. I was like, damn. But this is a hefty book.
Yeah, it's a good
for
size.
Like a comic for no words. It looks like they make up for it as far as like content goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
could definitely see that.
Those are the 2 champions this week.
Good stuff. All right, I only got one to champion today, and that is Genius, a Kanye trilogy, that Kanye West doc on Netflix. It's a 3-part series. I think 3rd episode will have dropped by the time this episode comes out, but the first 2 episodes focus on the early years of Kanye West, specifically him pre-record deal years, and it really kind of documents the road to him recording and releasing his first album, College Dropout. It's directed by 2 individuals, Coodie and Chaik. I think that's Chaik. That's how you say his name. But they're both lifelong friends of Kanye. Coodie was a Chicago-based comedian and TV personality who already kind of had his own like channel what is it, like the cable channel access.
Public
shows.
access.
Thank you, public access shows. So he had his own public access shows, ends up meeting Kanye West very early on in his career and kind of sees something in him, and he decides, you know what, I'm going to put my kind of career on hold and follow this guy around as he tries to, get a record deal and get an album. What ends up happening is for the last 20 years, they've been friends, and he's been recording him kind of on and off too, but outside of that, he's also responsible for directing his first music video, Through the Wire, because of all the footage they used from this doc for that. But he also directed the 3rd version of the Jesus Walks video. So he's worked with Kanye for a long time. But what I really like about this documentary series is that we get to see, I don't know, it's like a night and day difference of like view of Kanye from like the pop culture icon we all like know and maybe even begrudgingly kind of deal with like today. At least in stature wise, we're seeing a no-name artist at the time having to grind and go through the trial and tribulations that come with the machine known as like the record label. My butt has zits, God damn it, see. Stop going on my damn notes, please. But for diehard rap fans and self-proclaimed backpackers or people who were just really into Kanye's early stuff.
Damn, backpackers. Oh my God.
It is
such a legit hip hop movement.
I know. It is well worth the watch. It may not change, how you feel about the man that he is today, but it might give you more insight into why a lot of us hip hop heads like just really fucked with Kanye West from the start. It's definitely it's definitely humbling and eye-opening to see some of the footage they got. Not a big surprise, but you can definitely tell why his mom was so integral in his life. So, yeah, genius.
Good morning.
Thank you, C. Yeah, genius on Netflix. Well worth it. Well worth it. And that is actually the last champion pick that we had for today.
Ever of the show for the rest of our lives. So thank you for listening and goodbye, everyone.
Glad we could end the show one episode after the milestone. It's been a good time. No, I kid. Now, Nick actually took a break from champion season this week, so we'll have something from him next time, which means that is the end of our champion segment, which means it's getting close to wrapping up today, man. Does anyone have any words of wisdom, any parting words they want to share with the crew before I do my long goodbye? Ashley, you got anything? You learned anything new today?
I learned a few things. My new favorite ruin a Batman character is Salmonella Grundy.
Oh, that is a good one.
I think that was the highlight of the episode.
This sounds like a public health announcement. Remember, even Solomon Grundy can get sick from undercooked chicken.
It was fun, going over a comic I don't know much about for a trailer that I haven't seen.
All right, see, what about you, man? Parting words, anything you want to say before we wrap up?
What did I learn? I think I learned that I'm probably not going to be able to edit any of the show notes in real time while we're recording from here on out. It's sad. It makes me sad.
Yeah, there'll definitely be a new way I send notes after this episode. So thank you, C, for
don't do that, buddy.
Thank you for showcasing a security weakness in Google Docs. I'm definitely going to send this as a improvement.
It's what I'm here for. You're going to just export it all of them as a PDF.
Yeah. A non-editable file.
No changes. I said no changes.
Hey, what about you, man? Parting words?
I learned you have zits on your butt. That's pretty crazy. Get that checked out.
I will. Did I learn anything new?
Well, you learned that everyone has to audition in a stinky, smelly ass Val Kilmer Batman suit.
True.
If they want to be Batman.
True, you're right.
That's the toll you got to pay.
You're right. I learned today that those suits are still malleable to like body heat.
You think they don't wash them? They're just all still moldy and gross.
That's gross.
I forgot which one. He said Christian Bale had to audition in a suit too, and I can't remember who.
That one too. There's footage of it. I've seen it.
What suit was that one?
The Joel Schumacher Batman suits, the Val Kilmer one, because that's all they have.
Yeah, the Dustin.
So you got to get in that thing.
It had the nipples on them.
You better pray to God that your face is fat enough or skinny enough to fit inside, because you'll look weird.
You're right.
Like Cillian Murphy's Batman footage is odd because he's a weird looking guy.
Yeah.
He would have had to have bulked up.
Why couldn't they just get him like a Party City or Spirit of Halloween suit? Just throw that on. That's good enough.
John Malkovich's Batman.
I like the honesty too. It's like, look, motherfucker, we're not going to build a new suit for you. You got to prove your chops first.
You got the part yet.
Look at that jawline. We can't just make something for you. We don't even know if you're going to do it.
Settle down, Pat.
You Hufflepuff son of a bitch.
Yeah, listen, Twilight. All right, prove yourself first, and we'll build.
I've done more things. Shut up, Twilight.
Yeah,
I was in the lighthouse.
Punked your ass in Goblet of Fire.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. Well, there you have it, Short Box Nation. Thank you for hanging out with us this week. You're the best audience a show like ours could ask for, but it's time to close out the show. Next week, we'll be joined for the second time by a good friend of the show. I think it's safe to say friend of the show. Right? Friend of the show.
Safe to say best friend of the show.
Jim Rugg, the Eisner Award-winning comic creator and one half of the popular comic book YouTube channel, Cartoonist Kayfabe. Jim made his Short Box debut back in 2020 on episode 299, and he'll be back next week to talk about his upcoming Marvel project, Hulk Grand Design.
I can't wait for that to come out.
Yeah, me neither. I went ahead and put both of them on my poll. Hulk Grand Design is a comic that will attempt to cover 40 years of the character's history. The interview will drop.
40, I think it's 60 years.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
Hulk's been more than 40
I'm
years.
mistaken. 60 years.
It's not the 90s, brother.
You're right. He's going to try to jam-pack 60 years of the character's history in 2 oversized books. We'll talk to him on how he's going to accomplish that. That interview will drop next Wednesday, so come back for that if you want to hear some incredible Hulk talk. But if that's too long for you to wait, consider subscribing to our Patreon channel, and you'll get access to bonus content like video versions of this episode, the ability to vote on episode topics like our patrons did for this one, and you'll get access to our spin-off show all about the best comic book cartoons and animated shows called Pilot's License. We just dropped an episode analyzing the extraordinary X-Men animated series. Go to patreon.com/theshortbox right now, or click the link in our bio to subscribe. In the meantime, give us a follow on social media if you aren't a part of the bandwagon already. But most importantly, take care of yourselves. Have a great day.
Ashley, take care of that damn cough. Fucking sneeze. Butter's trying to promote the show. You're sitting there coughing in the microphone and shit. Jesus
she's
Christ.
allergic to shameless plugs. Bless you. Bless you, by the way, Ashley. Bless you.
Thank you.
But listeners, most importantly, take care of yourselves. Have a great day. And please continue to make mine and yours Short Box. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.